Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Cooden, and my colleague Steve Lally and I are going to give you some commentary around today's events. So we were just testing the microphone was working there. I don't think it was, so somebody else will be good afternoon. So good afternoon. Okay, that's not bad. We're here because of very historic events, like there's this around the castle this year, when the castle was a Jacobite garrison located in the castle, and the town was Jacobite, under Jacobite control, which is why the siege occurred in the first place. Once Schomberg landed in County Down, landed his troops at Grimsport, and this was the main Jacobite garrison, so he needed to capture this in order to keep the loch safe to bring in the army. The Williamites came to an area called Windmill, which is just across from us here. They would have had their cannons, large guns at Windmill, what's called Windmill Hill, for those of you who are from Carrickfergus will know where that is, and also near the North Gate, and then as time went on, around the other side of the walls towards Droymount. So that they were outside the walls. Inside was a Jacobite garrison and a Williamite town. So our drama is going to surround all of those things, and I'm going to ask Steve now to take things a little further.
Thank you, David. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve Lally, and I am a storyteller. I'm going to, with the assistance of these people, tell you a story. But what do we always say at the beginning of a story? Once. Oh, very good. But we need your help. So will you help us? Can everybody point to themselves? And in a big loud voice, repeat after me. It wasn't in my time. Very good. Now, please point at the person next to you, but don't poke them in the eye. And say, it wasn't in your time. Lovely. Now, hold out your hands in front of you lovingly. And can we all say, it wasn't in your mommy's time. Oh, very good. Now put your hands on your hips, proud but not arrogant. And can we all say, it wasn't in your great grandfather's time. Lovely, now put your hands up into the air as high as you can, and can we all say, well, it was a very important time. And all the houses were thatched with pancakes, and the walls were made of penny loaves, and those walls were whitewashed with buttermilk. And outside the little pigs ran around with a knife and a fork stuck in their backsides going, eat me, eat me, eat me. Now, the town of Carrickfergus is a town well remembered in song, poetry, stories, and in the annals of history. It has been the subject of much bloodshed, brutality, and battle. Yet it has survived through these centuries of conflict and upheaval. But never was there so much turmoil as took place in August of 1689. When Carrickfergus Castle, which stood firm, a stronghold since the Norman era, fell under siege from the forces of King William III. It all began when the forces of Williamite troops were led by veteran Huguenot commander Frederick Hermann von Schomberg. The The bad guys are arriving. They landed on these shores and laid siege to the Jacobite garrison of CARRICKFERGUS. The castle and the town were an Irish army garrison which was used as a refuge for Catholic inhabitants of the region who fled there for safety as the Northern Rebellion against the reign of the Roman Catholic King James II grew and became more threatening. And we are here today, exactly 335 years later, to witness some of the events that took place during this great siege of CARRICKFERGUS. And you will hear and see the sound of cannon and musket and the smell of gunpowder as it fills the air as the siege of CARRICKFERGUS unfolds. This was to be a series of events that would go on to shape the course of history in both Ireland and the United Kingdom, and continues to do so. Thank you very much.
She did try, but I was like, you're right off the
In the province of Ulster, there is the county of Antrim. In the county of Antrim, there lies the town of CARRICKFERGUS. And in the town of CARRICKFERGUS, on the shores of Belfast Lough, atop the rock of Fergus, stands CARRICKFERGUS Castle. Built by Sir John de Courcy in the year of our Lord 1177, a bold fortress reaching to heaven. Yet the story I have to tell is one of blood, fire and hell, a brutal time in August of 1689. History is full of such fierce things, one of them being the War of the Two Kings. King William of Orange wanted King James gone. His papist rule had lingered far too long. They say that one can choose friends but not family. In the case, this was so true, for James was William's father-in-law, and William was his nephew. King William sent the Duke of Shumb to fight the Jacobite Some say Schomberg was past his best, but he was an old war horse. And this would put him to the test. And Schomberg was no stranger to war. His tactics were sure and good. This was to be another victory for the Duke. Battle in his blood. Come on now. The Irish garrison of 500 fighting men thought they were well armed and set, but they were no match for this impending tangible threat. Schomberg arrived with more than 10,000 men. It was inevitable that Carrickfergus would fall. The only question was, when? The Duke needed to siege to be a quick and sure defeat, so he may be hot on the heels of James and his men who will be running in cowardly retreat. Come on, you cowards, for goodness sake.
Sir, I am most honoured and indeed count it a privilege to stand before a general known across all Europe. Your Grace, may I introduce myself? I am Sir Charles McCarthy Moore, Governor of this town, and your Highness. Charles, God grant that we may treat this day with honour, gentlemen. I am come to do the bidding of my King and yours, His Majesty King William, and his most devoted wife, Queen Mary. I require you, Sir Charles, that you yield up to the castle, town, and the castle forthwith. Your Grace, I am indeed moved by your kind words on how affairs between us may be resolved. But I must put before you these particulars. Firstly, I am commissioned by His Majesty King James, the anointed king in this country, to hold the town of Carrickfergus in his name. Secondly, my garrison is loyal to me and to King James, and have made good and stout their preparations for the defence of this ancient citadel. And lastly, I hold a town with a great castle keep with stout walls. Therefore, I am unable to oblige your Grace in this matter.
Sir, I have no wish to press my many advantages, but I charge you, McCarthy, to consider the military facts. I have at my command some 4,000 men and many siege cannon, and mortar set about the town. Come, sir, let us agree terms for the surrender of the town, or blood will be spilt.
Your Grace, I am a soldier like yourself, and my eyes have seen war enough. Grant this, I pray, that I may send to His Majesty King James for instruction on how I should dispose of the town, whether to stand or surrender.
Purely a delaying tactic, Carthy. I will in no way countenance such a delay in these matters. Sir Charles, the town is closed on all sides by my army, with more regiments attending every day. The siege cannon are set in place out the walls and on Windmill Hill. Enough now of words. My next message to you, sir, will be heard most clearly, for such is this cannon roar.
A group led by Colonel Owen McCarthy, the Governor of Carrickfergus, Colonel Charles McCarthy Moore, had orders to hold out despite the inevitable score. McCarthy Moore asked for parley, a well-known time-wasting plan, but Schomberg was wise to this and had no time for parley. Or this infuriating man, When the talks came to nothing, they fired a cannon on Schomberg's personal tent. And I'll tell you what happened after that in a while. CARRICKFERGUS right from is Richard Dobbs, who's the mayor, and he was imprisoned. He held the town sore until the aftermath of the siege when he was presented to Schomberg. But there were many refugees went across from East Ulster to Scotland at this time. William Hicks would have sent women and children across to Scotland. So Richard Dobbs' wife, Mary Stewart of Ballantoy, was sent across, and she gave birth to their son in Scotland, in Ayrshire, in Girvan, and his name was Arthur Dobbs. He came back after all this period, but he's also quite famous as the Royal Governor of North Carolina, and he was the first man to write about the Venus flytrap. That's one of his claims to fame. So while all this is going on, Richard Dobbs is in the jail in CARRICKFERGUS, imprisoned as the mayor. And all is not going well for the Jacobites at this point, so the garrison would have been a bit demoralised by what was happening generally. The arrival of Schomberg's troops is a signal that William's army is coming to Ireland. The siege of Londonderry has been a success for the Williamites, so it hasn't been a success for the Jacobites, and they've lost the Jacobite leader in Scotland, James Graham of Claverhouse, at the Battle of Killiecrankie. So this is the main Jacobite garrison, apart from Charlemont in the west, that is still in existence in Ulster at this time. Okay, can everyone shout fire? Ah, we got him that time. Okay, watch out. See another one. Okay, I think we've got another one ready to go. Right, everyone shout fire! Oh, for goodness sake. Any time today? Oh, there he goes. Okay, fire! There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, Madam Mayor Beth Adger is about to light the cannon. So everyone, I want you to get ready, okay? And everyone, I want you all to go. Come on, get the tension going. Ooh, that's it, come on, and fire! Oh dear. Let's try that again. Whoa. Fire! Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much. As you can see, there's an exchange of insults between the occupants of Carrickfergus and the Jacobites. So they're shouting insults at each other as it seems that trying to provoke them to either come out or get the others to go away, one or the other. I don't know if it's working. Can you guys think of any insults you want to shout? Oh. We got a man down. Oh dear, we got a wounded soldier. Being taken away to safety. Oh, he saw us his hat. Come on. Schomburg had no time to fuss. He wanted them all out of Carrickfergus.
So this is a last-ditch effort by the Jacobites to take on the Williamites and push them back away from the walls of the town and proximity to the castle. And you might have noticed some troops have left this area, the Williamites, so that has given the Jacobites the chance now to come forward and by weight of numbers push them back. Still a few choice remarks being exchanged between them, as you can hear.
Fergus Castle with their cannon fire and musket fire from both the land and the sea. And this blatant Schomburg's bloody intent, the attack, the military splendour until the garrison was eventually to surrender.
So they could have held out for quite a while. The town itself was another matter. The walls were being breached. And at one point cows were herded towards one of the breaches. And when they were shot, then the carcasses of the animals helped to build up the area that had been blown away. But the Jacobite plan was to fully retreat to the castle. There was plenty of beef and all sorts of provisions to keep them going there. Schomburg, of course, needed to get this battle over. He needed to get this siege finished with because it was getting on to a time of year when there would be more rain, be more inclement. There wasn't good siege weather coming down the line, so the pressure was on him to take the castle. The Jacobites must have been deliberating on how long this siege would last, what hopes they had of any success at all, because the Jacobite army was very depleted and the Williamites were war in the north. So that would have been a very interesting situation from both sides in terms of their outlooks for this siege.
Schomberg was eager, he had no time to fuss, he wanted them rid of Carrickfergus. Yes, Schomberg had no time to fuss, and he wanted them rid out of Carrickfergus, so he allowed them to march out with all honours, their arms and their baggage, beating drums, fluttering flags. The war horse had granted them passage to Newry for these broken and defeated nags.
Well, McCarthy, have your eyes been cleared by the gunsmoke of my cannon yet? I saw your white flag put out to summon this party. Can you see the termination of your lease on this place? For I have but hours away from giving the word to enter the breach. Come, sir, will you force me the necessity to be about more bloody business in this place, or will you yield?
Your Grace has sought to press his many advantages on Landis. Yet my men stand before the walls fixed like sentinels of old. I am well disposed of all that I need, and a single breach is no supreme advantage. And yet, I would consider an accommodation that would afford the due regards my regiments deserve. Would you, Your Grace, grant me the honours of war? What say you?
Sir Charles, I will agree terms with you, for I must be about His Majesty's business in this country. So I hereby propose the following terms.
Sir Charles, these are the terms of His Grace, the Duke of Schomberg, head of the army of King William in Ireland. Surrender terms: that the garrison shall march out with their flying colours, arms, lighted match, and their own baggage. That in regard the garrison is in such disorders, none to be admitted into the town, but such a guard as we think fit to set to one of the gates, which shall immediately be delivered to us according to the customs of war. 3. That the garrison shall march out and be conducted by a squadron of horse to the nearest garrison of the enemy, and there shall be no crowding or confusion when they march out. 4. That nothing be carried out of the town which belongs to the Protestants or other inhabitants. 5. That the governor obliges himself to deliver all cannon and other such arms, munition, victuals of any kind into the hands of such a commissary as shall be ordered by us to receive them. 6. That if there be anything due from the garrison to the inhabitants of the Protestant religion, it shall be paid, and what has been taken from them shall be restored. 7. That a safe conduct for all the inhabitants of the country and such of all the Roman Catholic clergy that came for shelter to this garrison shall be allowed, that they go to their respective habitations together with their goods, and there be protected pursuant to King William's declaration the 22nd of February last past. 8. That care shall be given of the sick and wounded men of the garrison that cannot go along with their regiments, and that when they are in a condition to follow the rest, they shall have our pass.
Sir Charles, are the conditions. Do you accept?
Sir, I accept these most gracious terms and thank thee for them. Your Grace, the town is yours.
Well, a toast. Now these two gentlemen are about to have a toast. First.
So you might think it a bit odd they're having a toast, but these were the ways that war was operated in those days. It's all very gentlemanly, and the Williamites would have been very pleased to have captured the castle, particularly the town itself. The Jacobites got pretty good terms. They were allowed to leave with their weapons and with their standards. So they were treated with honour until they met some of the townsfolk on the way out of the town, of course, when it wasn't quite the same thing. There was a lot of animosity between the people in the town and the Jacobite garrison. And Schomberg had to intervene to restore a little bit of order at one point. But this was the way that sieges often operated. Sometimes they weren't quite as gentlemanly, and the largest siege would have been the siege of Londonderry, which is probably a lot better known in terms of wider history than the siege of CARRICKFERGUS. The siege of Londonderry, there were a few attempts to try and capture the city. One of the French commanders wanted to herd all the Protestant inhabitants of the areas around the city under the walls to either force the garrison to take them into the city, or to let them starve outside, and if they took them in, then they would have been using some of the supplies. So the idea was you'd have drained the supplies, but nothing like that happened in Carrickfergus, and certainly not an earlier siege in 1315 when Edward Bruce laid siege to the town. There's a legend that some of his troops were allowed into parley, and the garrison were pretty low on provisions, and they kept them in the town, and may have ended up eating them back. So there was nothing like that during 1689 siege, and the Jacobites would have headed down towards Newry in that direction, and the Williamites now had complete control of the Lough and this whole area around County Antrim, and it was the culmination of an attempt. There'd been an earlier attempt by the Council of the North, as it was called, to try and take Carrickfergus, and a lot of gentlemen from around the area, like the Dodgeses and Dalways and other families, had plotted to try and seize the castle, but that hadn't come about until Schomberg arrived with his troops and successfully captured the castle. You're all very good about this Williamite victory. I thought you might have cheered it when it was announced. There's a few cheers.
Taken, blood stained the land around, the silence was deafening. There was not a single sound, and the end of a chapter, recording violent and complicated things from the bloodshed tale better known as the War of the Two Kings. Here come the vegetable brigade. Yo-ho! There's a few leeks there as well.
Schomburg had granted them safe passage to Newry, safe passage for these broken and defeated nags.
Just the shore over there.
So William has arrived in a large fleet of ships. It was said that people believed they could have walked from Carrickfergus across to North Down on the decks of the ships that they saw in the loch. And William's army will disembark at White House, but William himself will land at Carrickfergus. And he will come into the historic harbour area. He'll be met by the mayor and the officials of the town. Schomburg will provide a coach for him to take him to White House, but the Dolway family from Dolway's Bawn outside Carrickfergus will also send their coach as well. And it arrives just a little bit too late, so they end up as just a little bit of a footnote in history. But William will arrive, the townsfolk will be ecstatic at the arrival of the Prince of Orange, and they will greet him very warmly as he goes through the town. And he then makes his way up to White House, where he holds his first council of war on Irish soil, and starts to move towards Belfast, Hillsborough, down to Loch Brickland and Newry, and towards the Boyne, where the two kings will meet for the first and only time on Irish soil. And you may have heard of the Battle of the Boyne. The outcome was very significant in terms of the history of the British Isles. And James, after the battle, fled to France. There were a number of attempts to try and reinstate the Stuart line, the last of them with Bonnie Prince Charlie in 1745. And William and Mary were offered the throne by Parliament in London prior to these events at Carrickfergus, and they were offered it on conditions, so it wasn't as of right, as the Stuarts had believed that divine right placed the monarch on the throne. Now Parliament said that they offered the throne on conditions. Those conditions are known as the Act of Settlement and the Bill of Rights, which we still have today. So the constitutional implications of all of this are very, very interesting. And the evolution of democracy that we know it today came about because of this, because no longer was it a right that the monarch would sit in Parliament on the throne, but Parliament had the right to determine, and that evolved into what we call constitutional democracy, which we have today. So all of these things were decided in places like Carrickfergus and the banks of the Boyne, and outside the walls and inside the walls of Londonderry, at that very momentous historical period. So shortly they'll be moving down. William will be coming in on the tide, and he'll be welcomed to Carrickfergus. I'm sure you'll be able to give a bit of a cheer at that point.
Where's the other forces?
Secret